Hello, Wildcats. Happy Wednesday. And guess what? It's National Women's History Month. We have so many folks to celebrate. And whether you identify as a female or a male or trans or none of the above, no matter how you identify, you definitely can take part in celebrating the greatness of all women who have impacted our country and impact your life. And again, this is because, women have only had the right to vote. Like we barely got that like 100 years ago. And even, had to fight even to actually have that fully realized. We don't even have a female president yet, but we finally have Kamala Harris as at least a female vice president. And she's a person of color. Oh my gosh, we're moving right along with making sure that leadership starts to look like the people around us. Leadership in institutions, people with power need to look like the people that live here in this country. Now, over 50% of the population identify as female. Over 50%. When we look at leadership and we look in our history books and we look around the country, who's running the countries? Who's running the institutions? Is it 50% female identified folks? Not yet, not at all, right? So we need to be recognizing all the people that continually fight for equal rights. And so it's Women's History Month. I have some resources for you.
Kicking off Women's History Month on this March 1st, and we want to turn now to Nightline co-anchor Juju Chang, who's going to give us a little history lesson on how it all grew into the celebration we now know today.
It's March 1st, which marks the beginning of Women's History Month, a month-long celebration to honor women's often overlooked contributions to American history, like those of Elizabeth Blackwell, the first woman to officially become a doctor in the United States in 1849. Sojourner Truth, Susan B. Anthony, and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, all leaders in the women's suffrage movement. And Harriet Tubman, who led hundreds of enslaved people to freedom. But what's the history behind Women's History Month? It all began in 1978 with only a week-long celebration. It was organized by the Sonoma County Commission on Women. The week of March 8th was selected to correspond with International Women's Day, which had been celebrated around the world on March 8th since 1911. The movement began to gain momentum, and the following year, other communities and school districts initiated their own celebrations of Women's History Week. Then in 1980, the National Women's History Project lobbied for national recognition, and they were heard, because in February of that year, President Jimmy Carter issued the first proclamation, which declared the week of March 8th as National Women's History Week. 6 years later, the same organization petitioned for an expansion on the event, and in March of 1987, Congress passed Public Law 100-9, proclaiming March as Women's History Month. Now, every March and all month long, we celebrate countless extraordinary women who've earned their place at the table. And the rest, as they say, is history.
It's history. Thank you.
Okay, the first one is this, learning all about music from, I can't remember her name, Sylvia Robinson. So what's exciting about this is there is a 4 teens right here. I don't know if you can see that, 4 teens. See that? It's a workshop tomorrow night and all about music sampling, producing hip hop. This is for you. Yeah. And last resource, let me make myself a little smaller. Hey, I like that. Here's a website. I will post it also to your Google Classroom. And you see all these people to learn about, all these powerful women to learn about. And this is just some of them. Just some of them. So, listen to the stories. Listen to yourself. Recognize how you've been silenced. Recognize how your voice is important. Recognize how to listen to each other. Women, we got to listen to each other to make sure we're lifting each other up. Happy Women's History Month. Don't forget, get your roar on. Bye. Have a nice day. Shout out to all the grandmas who've been fighting this fight for a long time.